tells me that they might have something in the back pocket here.
So interesting. I will say Ultra's rocking, I think, the same perk build as last week, and I'll say I noticed that because we see a total lack of pain resonance again. We do see Grim Embrace instead of pain resonance. So, I mean, maybe, let's be real. Sometimes matches just don't go the right way. There's often that one or two small or sometimes big turning points that really lets a match get away from you. So maybe they said, you know what, we trust Ultra, run it back, let's do it again. And we'll see how that goes. Ultra's now holding the middle of the map here, shooting out some Dire Crows, trying to get maybe some Killer Instinct. Get an idea of where these survivors are. We've got a nice corrupt intervention down here by the shack side of the building. Looks like is it a 3-4 split or a 3-1-3? I didn't see their Dire.
I'm not entirely sure as well. It was pretty quickly, but we see here, for example, this is fantastic potential for later, right? Here, this 3-gen that is really also towards the outside of the map. We don't have a generator that is more towards the midsection where the survivors immediately get into safety. That is a really important advantage that Ultra has here. Decides to chase in the corrupted area, so he wants to, in best case, get a 2-tap onto Spitz and then keep the hook stage down here inside the 3-gen. Even better would be a basement hook, but Spitz unfortunately not even injured and reaching the midsection already. Now we are running on this bottom midsection jungle gym. Crows getting fired here. Spitz just about to get the crows off, does achieve that in time. Pedro is the next one to attack now, but it is not the early game that Ultra is looking for here. The corrupt intervention now naturally expiring after 2 minutes, and we don't have a down yet, so this 3-gen protection down here barely did anything.
Well, but I want to point out as well, just adding on to the chases haven't necessarily been going the way that Ultra wants, but both the totems are down this end too. One on the hill on the right side of your screen right now, and one sort of in the middle next to the tree on the left side of Shack there. So while that first chase did take a little while, it took about just over 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 12 seconds. It's still, yeah, and we're getting a basement hook here. They're very easily going to be, they being Invictus will very easily finish the 4 generators down the other end of the map. But you can see already we've got Dan, our ace, playing that crane gen, trying to get some progress, because the survivors have identified if they get into trouble down here and they can't crack this 3-gen before they get to the 3v1. They're going to be in a lot of trouble here. Grim Embrace does start and end, so survivors were kicked off of the generators for just a few seconds, and now we're going to continue the chase here on Dan. The very quick unhook though here, Dire.
Yeah, they want to bring their survivors back into the trial as quick as possible here, making sure that as many survivors as possible have access to the generators. Ultra firing a few crows here, but unfortunately they do not find the target. That's going to be the same for the second attempt. These survivors just reaching the midsection again, and that is now a very fantastic rescue play right here. Kexo is around trying to work a little bit in favor of Pedro, but Pedro finds the window here, staying strong in the mind game. Doesn't even need this protection just yet. Kexo only now coming in to take the protection. That's going to be the injury right there. Can we get a quick shot onto Kexo here into the injury? Ultra trying exactly that, setting up 2 crows, uses the dodge coming out to close the gap of distance a little bit, and Kexo now going down, but making it to the complete other side of the ARP. So we can really see Invictus has understood where Ultra wants to have the hook stages and where he would like to play this trial, and Invictus basically says, not at all, we're gonna go to the northern part.
Well, and I got to imagine Dan has been crushing that generator on the other side. I will be surprised if it doesn't pop right away. Yeah, Invictus definitely understood the assignment. Managed to get Pedro all the way down the other end of the map. Yes, you're going to get your second hook on Pedro. That's great. You're 1 away from your tunnel out, but you can't guard this. I mean, wait, a gen popped. It was that one, right? It was that one. So they've broken the 3-gen, I believe. So we have Pedro on hook. They managed to pick up and fully heal Kexo. Invictus is in a really strong position. Ignore that tree. We didn't run into trees here. We don't want to run into trees here. Don't worry about that. Yeah, we've got a 2-2 split on these generators. If you camp this hook to death, you lose the game. At this point, Ultra's got to start looking for maybe some fresh hooks, maybe get some hook states on the board just to get that score a little higher. Because as things are looking right now, you know, worst case scenario for Ultra, you're a 1K3. Best case scenario, unless something changes soon, you're going to see maybe a 2K6, 6 hooks too fresh. So. Not a lot of gen progress there for Kexo yet. Doing a good job. Just sitting with the birds. Very gutsy. Trusting the teammates. Trusting their ears to call out when the birds are coming their way. I guess Kexo lost the birds there finally, but ooh. Pedro is gonna die on hook though.
Yeah, and I love how flexible Ultra is with his strategy, right? We could see he's really trying to defend the corrupted area down there next to the shack. That was his plan for the match. Now he has to work, unfortunately, with the 2-2 split, but he also really adapts the strategy. What we see very often when a survivor is inside of the generator setup, a 3-gen, is that you take a lot of fresh hooks as well, and a lot of hook stages across the team. Now realizing there's no gen defense anymore, switching over to the quick, very forced elimination on that one survivor, and now trying to get the 4K or at least more stages in the 3v1 scenario, because what you definitely achieved here is less efficiency on the survivor side due to the elimination. Great movement here by Kexo. As soon as Ultra is putting too many crows next to the loop, we are rotating over to the next one. The Spitz wall is not going to grant safety. Yet a smart vault into the killer here. You want to use the injury onto this side so you have access back towards the midsection of the map here. Otherwise, you would kind of zone yourself and then being injured for a potential 2-tap. So that definitely counts as a successful attempt here. Trying to shoot some birds, but I doubt that this is going to leave too much of impression onto Dan here. He's just happily finishing this generator, but it might be a close call.
I think Ultra does interrupt it. Dan sticking the gen. Oh no!
Yeah.
Ultra turned around. Oh no, this is this gen. I'm so sorry. It was the bottom side gen. I was gonna say I thought that Dan took over for Kexo, but then when Ultra shot the birds towards the main building side, I thought I was mistaken. But yeah, Dan does finish this generator here. Now we're in the end game. We have 3 hooks, 1 fresh. This is not the kind of result you want for your pick, for your killer pick from Cynic. So we really, bare minimum, we need to get another person on hook here. We want to hopefully get at least 2K6 so your survivors have a chance to match. But I don't know. That gate's almost open. The body blocks are coming in. Can we work our way around? Yes, perfect body block by Spitz there.
Wow.
And we're gonna get a 1K3. 3 hooks, 1 fresh. Wow, very well played by Invictus.
That is rough. And this is the thing, right? A lot of people say about comp DBD, and this is addressed to all the Twitter specialists out there. Hopefully this doesn't get me.
You're fine. We aren't canceling you yet.
Comparing generators, hook stages, and individual survivors hooked, and in our opinion, 9 stages on 3 survivors is not as great as 9 stages across all 4 survivors. So Nightlight here coming out with the Artist, little bit of a different build. There we see in the pain res that seems to be the red, I don't know, the red card for Cynic. They really don't like using pain res. However, Nightlight is really coming in with this perk as the only regression here.
Yeah, this build I believe is the same as last week. It's more we've got agitation so you can really place where you want your hook. Again, on a map like this, a big map like ARP, placing your hook is really important. And then we've also got birds come through, but we do not get damage on those dire crows, but we are going to see a quick down on, I want to say, Nini playing our 35th survivor has entered the fray. Rebecca Chambers, the medic, the young medic. First time we've seen Rebecca Chambers in season 10, and lucky her, she's on hook. Nini's first hook.
Yeah, not every debut in DBDL is going smoothly here. So Nightlight already basically 30% done with the challenge for this trial. Ultra Lusty Angels might now start a debate. What's the good strategy here? You definitely don't want to get Nini too quickly off the hook, if you're asking me, because that would allow Nightlight to just go for the tunnel, taking the second hook stage. So either you're gonna save a second before the second stage, or we might even see Nini going quite far into the hook progression, basically before the elimination, and the survivors for now grinding the gens on top side and then coming towards the bottom side here. But with these crows constantly hitting, Andrew, that's a lot of interruption on the generator progress.
Yeah, Artists can be so devastated. Again, we had a quick this down came in less than a minute, whereas last match it was 2 minutes and 12 seconds. And now Nightlight, I mean, even without the win condition, I think you see a pretty similar strategy here. Even if you're trying to get best possible, even if you're trying to get that 4K, sitting by the hook, just shooting birds out, trying to harass them, get them off the generators. They have to leave the gens, get rid of the birds so they don't take damage across the map. It's so much passive harassment that you get with the Artist. I don't disagree with the decision that that Cynic made, letting Nini sit on hook for the second stage, but the reality is they need to get 3 generators done for it, and they're not going to. Angels is taking a hit here, trying to avoid those birds, and ends up taking a hit. We're probably going to see another down here. With Nini going to second stage, we are one dire crow away from our win condition. Again, I don't think Nightlight is going to be satisfied with 3 hooks. We're probably going to see Nightlight try and send a message here in our first killer matchup.
Yeah, knowing Nightlight, that's not going to be 3 stages and a sip of coffee. I totally agree with you. They want, in best case, the 4K here, and it makes a lot of sense, right? You are setting the sign towards Cynic. You say, we are more dominant here in this trial. You're preparing yourself for the upcoming killer trial, because I would be shocked if Nightlight doesn't play the Clown. He's famous for his Clown.
So he can just
bring himself in the vibe.
Pedro played Clown.
He didn't play it, yeah. It was a crime. I will personally.
It's wild. I don't know why.
I will personally go down in the break to Invictus and tell them that Nightlight has to play Clown.
Last week I think it was me and Rob. We were like, oh, Nightlight is playing Clown. No, it was me and Pride. Oh, Nightlight is known for Clown. Nightlight is the only Clown main you're gonna find in comp DBD. And then Pedro loads up. We're like, well, ignore everything we said. So yeah, I would be surprised. But Nightlight, it's not like Nightlight wasn't available. Nightlight played the Survivor side of it. So maybe Nightlight was just having some fun with us, trying to make us liars. Chase comes down on Angels here. Nini did get unhooked, did get full health, so we are still in the 4v1. This gen split, by the way, is pretty rough for the survivors. Last time we had 4 up the main building side and 3 down by Shack. This time we have a really strong 3-1-3 split, and the one in the middle is kind of cheating towards Shack here again. We're going to see our second hook on Angels while we're cranking away gens here. We were talking there for a second. Really, really solid stealth play by Ultra around that generator earlier. I was smirking to myself while we were talking about setting the tone. I love some good stealth play. Yeah, this is looking a little bit dire for our survivors here. Sorry, I feel like I have to make a couple dad jokes just to cast with you. So.
Oh, that's not a problem, because I also feel like this game is getting so difficult that Cynic needs some help from the Angels in order to bring it back on track. And Sad Person Angels is now getting rescued from the hook here, and I would love to see now some efficient generator plays, some good chases, a recovery basically. Yeah, Cynic already lost set number 1, ladies and gentlemen, but the question is, not only do you lose a set, how do you lose a set? Cynic will stay on the survivor side. They will have to play straight again against hopefully Nightlight's Clown, and you want to put yourself in a good position, right? You want to have the feeling now that you can make some steps against Nightlight while getting a double down here. I feel like I cast a curse.
Well, no, you're not wrong though. On both sides, Nightlight's goal right now is demoralize Cynic. Don't just beat them, devastate them, 4K them, make them go into the next match demoralized, so that they maybe make mistakes. Maybe they feel, maybe their killer isn't, their head isn't in the game. On the flip side, Cynic needs some outs. If Cynic can get the gens done, it's going to be rough because we are looking at a sort of loose 4-gen at this point. If you can get some outs, that will be all right. Look, we didn't win. We had a rough. They played really well as Survivor, but hey, look, we can do this. We can come back. We can win the next sets. We got a Clown set coming up. Last week, Cynic did. They went 2-0-1 with theirs. They lost their Artist set. They lost their Clown set, but they tied and 4K'd on their Dredge set. And I should mention, the Dredge set is our third set. In fact, the first 3 games this week are exactly the same as the first 3 games for Cynic last week. So if Cynic can make a little bit of a recovery here, get a moral victory, get the gens done, maybe get a couple people out the door, that would be really nice. That being said, while I've been saying this, we are down to the 2v1, so it's looking very unlikely.
What a unfortunate turn of events here. Ultra and Lusty now. The 2 remaining survivors with 2 generators, and Lusty even getting the snipe there, unfortunately. Nightlight putting up more crows. Is that a submarine crow?
Did they put that down there so that you could shoot it and not see it coming? Maybe? Weird.
If that works, that would be crazy. I'm not such of a crow specialist, even though these are dire crows, so basically animals in my habitat. But we need some confirmation. We have some experts in the background to check that for us. But if that's a I will invent submarine crow now.
Submarine crow.
If that works. If that works and your hitbox actually gets triggered while the crow is flying under you, that would be an insane strat right there.
Well, the hitbox on the crows is pretty big. Like, I think that would work, but I'm wondering if you just wouldn't... Nice damage there. I'm wondering if you just... It's the idea is you wouldn't see it coming. I thought maybe it was just going to be a blind crow, but the problem is that in this situation... Oh, Greed's the pallet, and Nightlight says, nah, you're not... You'll never, ever throw that pallet Ultra, and just swings right through. All right, we're going to see fresh hook number 3, and now injured Lusty's just going to... It's interesting. A couple times in the last few weeks, I've seen. Yeah, okay. I was gonna say I've seen some survivors just walk up to the killer and go, "Look, this is not happening. I'm gonna end it." Looks like Lusty might be going for this unhook though. I respect the competitive nature.
Yeah. They are trying indeed. Unfortunately, Nightlight is a little bit too quick back on the hook, so we're entering a 1v1 ladder match. Lusty here, with hopefully the win for the grand final. Is he able to gain some confidence out of this last chase and potentially put up a good show? Nightlight doesn't even worry about the pallet though, just following straight up, and that's a congratulation to Nightlight. For everyone who's now getting the rulebook out and wants to shout that Ultra is not allowed to Kobe, the players can Kobe, or at least attempt to Kobe, when all of the survivors are hooked and one of them is downed, to speed up their death. In case they ever successful unhook attempt, they need to stay under the hook and cannot go for any perk usage or additional escape maneuvers. Yesterday we had this fact and Babu was already AFK celebrating his victory, which also created a funny situation there, but in theory that's how it's supposed to work. It was actually the first time that someone Kobe'd in DBDL when they were allowed to end their misery.
I love that.
But yeah, Andrew, that's a very clean result right here. Looking at the perk of Quentin Smith there, I would say it is time to wake up and catch a window of opportunity with some iron. 5 outed even for this unbelievable crime. 5 outed, yeah, for this unbelievable crime. No, of course not. Pedro, good luck for your trial here. I feel like Reckless Yard should, in theory, even grant more towards the survivors. We've seen it in the map showcase video, but it does turn out that especially the strong killers, and Pedro is definitely one of them, have a high advantage on the Wrecker's Yard. Very often it ends up in a basement hook that is then very difficult, and then they just gonna move through the hook stages from there, making it difficult to save. I would say 8 stages when you are having a good early game are definitely in reach, but we have seen Clown's 4K here before, so it is also going pretty good, because I was I was thinking that he would still take the effect there, but that might be a down very soon already.
Well, it was really interesting there. Pedro had managed to body block Angels off, but also was out of bottles, so was trying to make bottles while standing next to them. And Angels was like, no, I'm going to take the hit and run into the map. And so Pedro took the hit. And then, yeah, that lingering pink bottle ended up with Angels going down. About 1:10 into the match. That's pretty quickly for a Clown. Although, I got to say, Ultra died Angels died in the right position, way deep in the corner, so that way the survivors can get some gens done here. I got to say something. I'm looking at the build. I like Sloppy Butcher. Eruption's good. Pain Res is good. No Corrupt Intervention is really interesting, although I've seen it a few times now because Wreckers is a smaller map. I do not like Dragon's Grip, and I think I said this last week, and I think Pedro ran it last week as well. I feel like it's so hard to get value. I feel like you can only surprise them once, and after that, the survivors are just ready and prepared. I'm going to tap the gen. I'm going to need to make sure I'm safe and whatnot. Obviously, if you get caught out with Clown and his bottles, you can get in trouble. But I feel like there's many other perks that get you more value. That's my personal opinion on Dragon's Grip.
Yeah, the Dragon's Grip, you have my signature there. Yesterday, we have seen one huge value. There, it came out as a surprise. I'm not too sure, right? I feel like the Dragon's Grip is also sometimes just brought as like a mental effect, just like Sloppy has sometimes, when it forces the survivors into staying injured because they don't want to deal with the slowdown. I feel like Dragon's Grip is not even that the killers are expecting the specific value anymore, but instead say like, it is dangerous, and it does help me to force the survivors into playing a little bit more careful than they should play, and maybe I gain some time from that. Hopefully this is working out here. Angels trying to waste a little bit of time. Pedro now getting the Shack Pallet out of the way though, so that's going to be beneficial for the mid game. Ultra still down. We will need Nini or Lusty rotating over in order to make sure that the survivor is picked up again, and we need a good chase here. We cannot have a double down, not this early into the match. So important now that Ultra is back, and I hope that Angels can make 1 or 2 more turns around the pallet here.
Really good point about the psychological warfare of Dragon's Grip. I gotta tell you, Ultra is gonna be writing a strongly worded letter to Behavior saying, listen, if you're gonna nerf Doctor unhooks, then what's this bottle stuff going on here with Clown? Because Pedro was able to nail Ultra with the bottle over and over and over again and body block and stop the unhook on Angels, and now Angels is dead at 3 generators left. This is a really strong position for Pedro to be in. If that's something like, if you're going to see the tunnel out come in, you want to be down to the 1 gen, 2 gens max. 3 is going to be really, really hard to handle, especially when you're rocking Sloppy Butcher. You know, injuries are going to take longer to heal, so you're going to be working on generators injured. Dragon's Grip is a threat, even if I'm not a fan of it. So this game is going really, really well in Pedro's favor, and it's really unfortunate that Ultra was unable to get that unhook before struggle.
And it's Ultra again. We have just seen him being slugged for a little bit, now with the responsibility to try and circle a bit. Gets every single second out that is possible here, but unfortunately it is not enough to make it a longer run, going to get the hook here. But the good news, we have a fresh hook, and that sometimes opens the chance to get some pressure into the generators, to make a little bit of progress. You don't have to worry immediately. Even if Ultra would go into the second stage, you're not under that pressure of going for a rescue. Otherwise, you will lose a team member here. But the bad news is now we find our injured survivor. That's going to be Nini. And if Nini is going down quickly, then Pedro has the chance to chain the tasks of unhooking, healing, unhooking, healing together. And the third survivor that is in chase can also not repair a generator. But what a mind game here. Nini already left 3 business days ago, sending Pedro a postcard. I'm even stumbling over my own words. A postcard getting sent to Pedro from far away. What a play here. Now Pedro taking a short time to regress the generator. But that was a phenomenal play. I love seeing that. Cynic on the recovery.
So do I, but now what's going on? We might get caught out here anyway. Oh no! After that amazing pathing by Nini, Nini gets caught chasing back to the generator.
That's on you, Andrew.
That's on me. I didn't even do it. You did it. You caster cursed. Yeah, no, oh my goodness. I'm sitting here losing my mind about that great. Leaves the pallet. And I gotta tell you, Pedro got 3 downs with that sort of like, I'm going around, just kidding, short swing through the pallet. 3 downs last week on the Clown. So I was sitting here waiting for it to happen, and then Nini must have watched the matches too, because Nini's like, no, I'm getting the heck out of here. And Nini was already halfway to that jungle gym. Nini is left slugged. The survivors still have not completed this generator, and now, wait, was Lusty injured? Was Lusty injured and I didn't miss it, or was that wasn't Dragon's Grip, right? That wasn't Dragon's Grip. No, that Lusty was injured. I'm crazy.
That was Dragon's Grip. That was
Dragon's Grip.
It happened.
Oh no! This is what happens. I always talk smack about Dragon's Grip, and then they get value, and I look like a fool, a dang fool. Anyways, all right. Well, Dragon's Grip, S tier perk. Obviously, everyone should run it. Throw away Pain Resonance. Just bring Dragon's Grip. It's the way to be. This game is quickly getting away from the survivors of Cynic. They really need, again, 4K on Clown is incredibly strong result. They gotta make it a 4K1. At this point, you have to get a generator done to make it 4K2. Slow things down if you can. Get to 4K2, and then try and get that last generator done. But if you get 4K3 here, it's basically over for Cynic. Like stranger things have happened, but you can't expect your killer to 4K3 to force a tie, and just a tie. You know. Anyways, Nini goes down.
It's rough, right? It's rough. We're watching Cynic again fighting not for the win condition hook stages or the individual survivors hook. We see Cynic again fighting only basically about the win condition regarding the generators that have been completed. And that is unfortunately not the win condition you want to talk about. It's not the win condition you want to talk about specifically against a strong team like Invictus, where you have a survivor side coming up soon that is known for their efficiency and their team play. If you would load in, I know, against me on the survivor side 4 times, then you don't need to worry about too much. But Invictus coming up, that's going to be a little bit tricky here. And 3 generators is crazy. We talked about it, Andrew, going into this trial, what is realistic. And we said when the early game is going great, 7, 8 stages is realistic for a good killer. We are beyond 8 stages. We are looking towards 12 stages plus generators. This is incredible what Pedro is putting up here, and Cynic must get some additional generators done. There is just no choice.
I feel like the big thing and that's a basement hook on Lusty, their second hook. I think Lusty's probably dead in that basement. Maybe not. Maybe we'll see a chase coming across the map. I think the major difference we're seeing, again, we've only seen Invictus play survivors the one time, so we'll see. And yeah, okay, so we're going to lock her up on Nini. Take the hook. The thing we've seen, the difference we've seen is that first chase, it wasn't terrible. It was a minute 10, but we need more gen progress before that hook state starts coming in, especially if they're going to end up going to second stage. Obviously, Angels going to second stage at the beginning was not the plan. Ultra did try to come in for the unhook, so it wasn't like they were exchanging the second hook for some progress. But then again, I mean, you mentioned this last match, Dyer. The way that played out, Angels ends up going to struggle, and Ultra has to take the unhook immediately, otherwise they get slugged and you're in real big trouble. And now you've got, instead of unhooking them at 65 seconds and then they get 2 more hook states, you unhook them at 71 seconds, and now you don't even get that extra 60 seconds of their hook state to get the generators done, right? Like if you're trying to get the unhook like right as soon as they go to struggle, you're really in trouble. You're really in trouble because now the tunnel out comes out even faster. So that's what happened, and I think that was the turning point in this game. I bet Ultra's just trying to get that gen done, but I think this is 4K3 unless there's more progress than I realize. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think the play with the flashlight there was supposed to be a little bit of a bait to get some seconds out for this generator. Unfortunately, it turned out that the survivors of Team Cynic are not a champion of light with their flashlight because that generator didn't come through. 4K3, ladies and gentlemen. If someone would have said that before the trial, that Pedro is about to 4K3 with the Clown, I would have said we can certainly agree on the potential to 4K because it's Pedro, but 4K3 would seem a little bit too much. But surprises happen, and I think
it's that turning point, like I said too, right? Like it's so crazy.
Yeah.
You were talking about how people consider, it's just tunneling, and in comp DBD is just tunneling. Look what happened here. One mistake totally changed the entire tempo and result of the map. It wasn't a mistake. It was well played by Pedro. Ultra went in for the unhook, couldn't get the unhook, and it totally changed the map, and we get a 4K3. I got hats off to Pedro though. I love when we get a Mori. Thank you, Pedro.
What a wonderful trial here from Pedro, ladies and gentlemen. That will be the 4K4 needed for the upcoming trial. Probably Ultra, I would assume, on the killer side. 4K3 is also possible, would be a tie though, so we would get into set number 3 with still a 1-0 for Invictus here. So in best case, you bump up your killer game. You're going to make sure that it's going to be a 4K4. Ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, we're going to take a very short break. You will refill your glasses. We're going to do the same. And in just a few moments, we're going to be back with the second trial of the Clown on Wrecker's Yacht.
Welcome back, everyone. We've got Ultra on the Clown for Team Cynic versus the survivors of Invictus. I've got bad news for Cynic fans. Unfortunately, we've all done it before. Ultra did not set the correct map, and so thankfully it's not going to be too hard a match. Before we needed to 4K3 for a tie, 4K4 for a win. We have a half hook state penalty, so Ultra can 4K4 for the win, or 4K3 will now be a straight up loss. So, 4K4 is not asking too much from Ultra, I hope, but we'll see how this match goes. We do get a very quick chase start on Dan. Hopefully we can make something happen very quickly. But all things considered, I'm going to say probably Dyer. I don't think the penalty is going to affect the game too much, but hopefully it doesn't end up being the decision maker.
Hopefully, yeah. 4K4 is basically where you come in with the mindset, I need a perfect killer game, right? And this is going to be difficult, especially with the 60% that we already have on the first generator here. Spitz taking an injury now. Pedro Kexo picking up as well. Andrew, look at that. Perfect cooperation on the survivor side again.
I guess Ultra understands the amazing value of Dragon's Grip, because we see Dragon's Grip again this match, so that's nice. Pretty similar. Actually, exactly. No, sorry, we have Corrupt Intervention this time as opposed to Sloppy Butcher, which could make a bit of a difference with resets. We are going to see our first hook come in, and it is a pain residence, so we will slow down the gens a little bit. Here's the trouble when you have such a rough win condition. Now we're sitting in a position where Ultra can't camp out the hook. He can barely go back and stop the unhook because they just got to do 2 gens and it's over. So you have to get back out into the match, right? We're chasing somebody here, but that's not our injured survivor, right? Is that Pedro? No, that is our injured survivor.
That's our injured survivor, yeah. That is.
I think it's a bait, though.
I think the best chase you can take right now, if we would get the down right here, but Invictus realizing that as well. So it's not only going to be the injured survivor rotating in for the unhook, it is a second survivor as well. Dan getting the deep wound here. It's not going to be a slug for Ultra for more pressure. And ladies and gentlemen, with the penalty due to the wrong map, it is going to be enough if one more gen gets completed here. So theoretically, the survivors could even quadruple on the shack generator and just get it out of the way with all risks that are there to come, but it is going to be a clean win. 2-0 for Invictus. Cynic will have to pull it on the dredge.
That was, I don't know if everyone understands how close that was. Again, I mean, I'm trying to make a very, very one-sided game closer, but Dan queued up that fast vault at that T&L after they got off hook as the bottle hit the floor. If they had queued it up 1 second later, that would have been a medium vault. They would have got grabbed, and then that would have been another hook on Dan. Again, would it have changed the result? Probably not, but it sure would put Ultra in a better position and not have all the chase that happened between there and now would have been different. But they'd already queued up the fast vault, so they were already jumping through the window. They saw the window of opportunity. I'm stealing your own ones. There's only certain ones you can make into puns, you know? I can't really be like, oh, the pain that Cynic is going through really resonates with me. But anyways. That is going to be second hook on Dan.
Yeah, and the question is now, how do you prepare for that upcoming trial, right? Obviously, here is the to-do list. Ultra needs to play a good game. He needs to set himself up in a good motivation, in a good momentum for the dredge set, where he will have a lot of responsibility. But also on the survivor side, right? You need to get ready that trial number 6 needs to be on point against the dredge. So hopefully the entire team Cynic now in the next break coming together, discussing a little bit, how do we want to put the pressure on the Invictus survivor team when we're playing killer, and how do we want to respond to their killer when it's our turn on this survivor side. In the meanwhile, they are even going to rescue Dan once more, making sure that they are staying 4 survivors in this trial. Obviously, Ultra wants to bring out the counterplay to that, wants to get the survivor out as quick as possible. Dan, however, has something against it, will drop the shack pallet early enough to make some distance and to force Ultra into getting the pallet out of the way. Pink bottle, unfortunately, not going to hit Dan just yet. Needs a second attempt that will, unfortunately, not able to go for a clean swing. And for some reason, Dan is able to turn the fun bus into a fortress of looping. What a chase here by Dan. That's going to be quite some percentages in the gens as a punishment.
That's a rough, I know it seems like a weak pallet, and it's not the strongest, but the problem is because of the ramp up to on that side, you saw Ultra knew it. Ultra knew what they were doing. Ultra tried to swing up and around the ramp, couldn't quite make it work, ended up not getting the hit, and as a result, the survivors are going to get the generators done. We've seen a lot of slugging, but as it stands, again, almost a perfect game from Invictus. It's not over yet. We may see it. We may end up seeing 6 hooks here or something like that. But wow, like Invictus came to play. Invictus, their killer game has been fantastic. Their survivor game has been almost flawless. I don't know how you face this. It's again going wild. It's wild to think going back that they've only tied 1 set this entire season, and they've beaten some of the best teams. So, oh. Kexo just wanted to jump into Ultra's arms there, winds up taking a hit and running towards that exit gate. I think they might make it, potentially. They seem to have doubled back. Maybe the gate wasn't ready yet. And here comes the squad to come in and defend. And it looks like...
And this is also... Andrew, this is the second time that we see the attempt of getting an Invictus survivor out with the tunnel strategy, and the punishment being Nine. What?
Yeah.
What?
Oh no, they're just bullying this poor killer now. What is happening?
Peter,
they're gonna get out.
What is happening? Oh, now they are blocking each other. But how can this work?
They're gonna get out.
Firecracker into the hiding spot in the locker. Andrew, this is no longer the competitive game here. This is Invictus putting together their bully compilation. Sorry if that's hard, but what we have seen here in the end game, it's crazy that they have
goes. Interesting. I'm really shocked to see that we're seeing Corrupt Intervention. I don't like Corrupt Intervention pick on this on Midwich. I feel like especially a mobile killer like Dredge, I feel like you could get more value out of a perk that lasts longer than 2 minutes max, but that's just me. Charging.
Yeah, we see the standard strategy a little bit. You're trying to get your power a little bit quicker by being in the locker here, and obviously also trying to find a good opportunity for the first chase. Unfortunately, Dan passed this locker a few seconds earlier, so Ultra not immediately able to hand out the tag there, and with this head start, Dan even able to go for the pallet here. Difficult mind game for the killer because it's such a distance, and Dan doesn't even care about the mind game, just holding W here. Ultra needs to go into the next one, and he goes for the teleport, and Dan chilling there in the corner next to Dan doesn't take these mind games. The killer can try, he says, but it's not going to work out, unfortunately, here with the injury. But what a first chase by Dan so far. We are beyond the 1 minute already, no down just yet. Ultra going to teleport, wants to take a look on the generators here to get the Hex Ruin in a little bit, but the survivors will get the first generator done in a second here. Back and forth, unfortunately, Kexo a little bit too slippery for Ultra, so that's not going to be the second injury of the match. And it looks like Invictus is just looking forward to the next crazy performance.
Ooh. That swing comes through. So we're in Nightfall. We are where the Dredge is the strongest. We have almost no cooldown on their ability. They can get a lot of information by teleporting very quickly back and forth to their remnant. We do have Sloppy Butcher, so every injury is going to take a little bit longer to recover from, and when you're injured, you're charging the next Nightfall again. So this is going pretty okay for Ultra. Obviously, we want to see it down soon, but spreading around some injuries is not the worst thing in the world. There are some worse situations to be in. I should also point out that there are 2 extremely safe pallets on this map, and they are in the diagonal corners from the infirmary and then that one stairwell, and both of them are gone. So good on the survivors. You do not want to take it down while one of your god pallets are up, but now the god pallets are gone, and we have 1 slug going on. We're trying to look for more. We're trying to use our Nightfall as best as we can. Nightfall has about 25%, 10% left, someone's gonna have to cycle around to pick up Spitz. Can we get it? And we get a second down here. This is exactly what Ultra needs. With Ruin still up, 1 generator does pop up. With Ruin still up, wait, did Kexo? No, I'm sorry. They picked up. I apologize. For some reason, I thought that somebody plot twisted, but we're fine. First hook on Dan.
It would be good if they would have been a little bit slower on the pickup, though, because Ultra needs a little bit of extra pressure. So far, Invictus doing extremely fine here. Yet we have 3 injuries, and with the Sloppy, as we mentioned earlier in one of the trials, you sometimes create the effect that the teams do not want to go. They do not want to go for the reset anymore because it's annoying. It feels like you have so much downtime, so maybe they will stay injured, and on top of that, Ultra being able to take the advantage of that. Let's see, Spitz going to be in a difficult situation here. Look at that patience, but unfortunately the 50-50 going to fall towards Ultra this time, so a good down for Cynic that they really need here. Going to feel rewarding to get a little bit of progress, and also having that hook stage next to the generator here It's going to be Ruin doing a little bit of extra work. Second generator done in the distance. A little bit back towards the locker lurking. And we just catch our injured survivor dropping here. And that's not the easiest pallet to work around. So totally understandable that Dan wants to chain these two resources together. Does fake that he would switch to the other room. Wonderful pallet fake by Dan. Even in the last trial, he showed us such a great gameplay on the fun bus. Dan signing up for MVP, and with that locker jump, he just earned the MVP medal, in my opinion. What crazy chases we see from Dan today.
Dan's doing great. Dredge says, no, I live there. Wow, okay. I was going to say, Ultra's, again, spreading damage, getting a few hook states, things are going well, but the survivors of Invictus, they are just so efficient with their generator progress. We see another 2 generators pop. We are down to the last generator. Dan is on death hook in the basement and has about, 30 seconds left to live. But the survivors have done such a good job getting the generator progress done, and Ultras really needs to start maybe slugging. We really need to see Dan die. I think that's what Ultra realizes. That's the situation. We need to turn this into a 3v1 as soon as possible. This is that weird room where there's this kind of not great pallet, but then there's a good pallet in this room that you can chain the 2 pallets together. And Ultra was unable to body block Dan from getting in there. We do see a slug on Nightlight. We're gonna take the hook. Okay, interesting. I think that Ultra realized that was too strong of a loop to deal with. Take the hook, leave Dan for now, and see if we can stop the last gen from popping.
Yeah, let's hope that Ultra is able to continue here. It would be great now to get more than the stages that we have seen in the previous trial. It would be good to keep them under control, making sure that you, in best case, 2-3 survivors, and only one of them barely getting out of the door here, unfortunately. The 3 injuries that we constantly have across the survivor roster of Invictus here haven't done too much damage yet. So they are taking the risk. They are not going for the heal, instead pressuring the generators, but it hasn't backfired yet. Ultra hasn't been able yet to go for multiple slugs and make sure that Invictus starts struggling. Going for the generator down here with a few teleports, unfortunately not able for the direct hit, and that's a little bit of a fumble here. Spitz should be already down by now, and that's a second one. Ultra, please, I know that it's getting difficult against Invictus, but you need to keep your head clean and you need to keep yourself together to make sure that the pressure is coming in. You can really tell how nervous he is now, and that actually costs the final generator. Andrew, that's as hard as it sounds on the killer here.
I agree. The first miss was interesting. I was really shocked. Spitz had a fast vault back through out of the little office there. That was a really hard fast vault there. I was really impressed by that. We do see Kexo go down. Spitz gets picked up. Kexo is our fresh hook. So Kexo is the one you want to kill if you're only going to get one of these. But I think that Ultra is trying to make more happen here. Maybe trying to get 2 of them on hook. 4-man slug at this point is looking unlikely, but we'll see, especially with so many lockers around the room. We pull out Nightlight, but you see Dan is 75% done that door. Nightlight's going to take the second hook. We are at only 5 hooks, 3 fresh, I believe, and Kexo is out. So unfortunately, leaving Kexo and going for more might end up costing costing Cynic, Ultra and Cynic a few more stages and that fresh hook, which is not what you're looking for when you have to win this. You cannot tie, you must win. And that looks like, did Kexo, there's no way Kexo went for Nightlight, right? Yeah, okay, they're out, okay. I'm like, there's no way you do that, right? So that's gonna be 6 hooks, 3 fresh, I believe. And yeah, leaving Kexo might have been an error.
Yeah, this entire situation there around that final generator, unfortunately, will be remembered as a little bit of a gift, you could say. I'm not entirely sure how to do it, because it's very understandable, though, that the nerves are taking over.
Points as they can against the other teams in the league before facing each other. in what is not a playoff, but maybe maybe a preview for the playoffs. As we load in here, and instantly Pedro gets a really good locker teleport, and we're gonna get a hit on Lusty immediately. I will point out when we come back from the break in 2 weeks, Knockron will be playing Ariandel, who's also, you know, pretty close to the. They've only had one loss against Invictus, so that we're looking for. Wow, very quick down. We're looking to see who's going to put in the first. Take the undefeatedness away from Knockron, if anyone can do it. That was a very, very, very quick down. That's a 33-second down for Pedro, and that's not the start you want if you're really, really trying to hold on to try and get to game 4 here.
And now Pedro, knowing all about it, knowing that he knows basically, yeah, we can aim with 2 kills here. Half time, basically. And then you have the clean 3-0. You have a very nice mindset now. You have the momentum because things worked out. You know that you will be second in the standings if things go right before going to the break. So all of that should be a good motivator for Pedro. And he's getting the second injury here on the survivor team, Lusty and Ultra. Now this time though, the difference is we do not have the sloppy in the back pocket, so that means that Cynic, and we see it right there already, we can see the tactical effect from the perk choice. In the previous trial, sloppy led to Invictus being able to take the risk or saying, then let's just not reset anymore. And now the total opposite happening. We don't have a sloppy, and Cynic immediately realizing that, saying, well, if the killer gives us the chance to go for a reset, we should take it.
Yeah, and resetting is a pretty big deal against Dredge, because again, for every injury, that's causing Nightfall to build up faster and faster and faster. So it's definitely helping out. Am I crazy, Dyer? Am I wrong? I feel like when I play indoor maps, again, I played very baby comp. I'm not anywhere near the level of either of these teams. I feel like indoor maps, Corrupt Intervention feels like a waste. Like, we got 33 seconds of Corrupt Intervention at the start of this map, and now we're playing three perks. Am I wrong? Is that unusual? Oh, wow. Quick down on Nini, too. Oh, goodness. Like, I don't know the stats of it. I don't know how many indoor maps we've played, and based on how many indoor maps we've had. Maybe a little shout out to Toby behind the scenes. Don't do any extra work on my account, but if you happen to have that sitting around, you can maybe let us know. I feel like indoor maps, because when you're playing a stealth killer, a lot of the times the survivors are playing it slow at the beginning, trying to stay hidden, trying to make sure they get eyes on the killer, and that gives you a natural slowdown to the start of the match. That Corrupt Intervention just doesn't seem worth it. But I mean, maybe at this level, the killers feel like it's more required. But we are just all over the map here. Pedro is dropping. We got 3 fresh hooks. We're just dropping in on survivors out of nowhere, and the chases are going very fast. Pedro is ending chases very quickly, and the survivors are running out of space here. With no gens done, 3 fresh hooks. We're 2 hooks away from the win at this point.
And unfortunately, this doesn't work out here. Angels coming in too late. And my question is, where are the generators, ladies and gentlemen? We have seen quick resets. Yeah, that takes a little bit of time, but we also have seen good chases so far. And we have seen that Cynic is not too much under pressure. They do not have multiple slugs to take care of. They do not take too many hook stages at the beginning. And for how it feels, what we see so far, I do not really agree with only 1 generator being done here. I think Cynic needs to be a little bit more efficient there, especially when you're playing against Invictus. You need to make sure that you are basically using every single chance, but Nini, unfortunately, not able to win the 50-50 here, so that's going to be the next down. We have 2 injured survivors as well, so hopefully a longer mid-game chase and some efficiency on the generators for the next few minutes. Otherwise, this might be tricky.
You know, I mentioned this last match during Pedro's game there, Dyer. We've had now 5 hooks, and we just threw one of those God pallets. Again, one thing that I find some of the best teams will do is when you're in chase against in midwich, you really don't want to take too many downs before those pallets are used. You want to use your resources. Those are basically, you have shack in 2 corners of this map. Dredge can do a little bit of stuff on the infirmary with the remnant or whatnot, but it's like Pedro knows that they're running up the map. That's so crazy. Comes in and tanks a hit, turns around and immediately. Now we're chasing Lusty. Teleport down to the bottom of the stairs. We are going to turn around. But yeah, when people are going down early while there's still really strong resources up, it feels like a fumble. It feels like a little bit of a fumble. This isn't looking very good for Cynic. We're having problems. We still only have 1 generator done. We are seeing this is going to be our win condition. This is going to be 6 hooks, 4 fresh, so that's going to be enough. So that is going to be a clean win for Invictus today. But I mean, the game ain't over. Pedro's got a lot of pressure right now.
Game ain't over, and yet it is a very difficult result to take for Team Cynic. We originally talked about it in the campfire chat earlier, Andrew. For Cynic, this was a pretty deciding game if they will rather stay on the upper or lower half of the standings. And after this tonight, unfortunately, the journey is more going towards the lower end of the...
Wow. As killer, I'm sitting here going, that hits. In my head, I was like, that hits all day. And then it came through, and yeah. That feels so gross as the survivor, because you're falling, and they basically, like, shave the top of your head. But I knew, yeah, that was a hit. That was a pretty clean hit. I know they're playing. I know we're playing overseas here. We're NA EU, but yeah, I knew that was going to happen. And we got a death at 4 gens here, Dyer. Good lord.
This hit is something that Lusty will remember in his dreams tonight. That's going to be such a nightmare where you can wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning on a Monday. But Nini and Ultra, once again, the final standing survivors, 4 generators still to do. Andrew, it is heartbreaking. Cynic is a team that is so long around, and we both know that Cynic can play so much better than what we have seen here today. But I find it hard to describe it. I find it hard to analyze it, but I must say, very unfortunately, this was absolutely not the day for Cynic.
Yeah, and I mean, again, they're having a bit of a rough tournament too. Or I guess it's the round robin right now, but they're having such a rough time because, again, like you said, this is going to put them to 2 and 3. And, you know, they started out pretty strong, and now they're taking a few losses. There's still a lot of season left, so they can still really recover. They are playing arguably one of the best teams out there. But I mean, yeah, like you said, Cynic is no slouch. They've won tournaments before. They've beaten, you know, I mean, there's been some pretty good rivalries back in the day between Cynic and some of the other better teams, some of the good teams. And yeah, I don't know what to tell you. This was very definitive. This matchup today was not close. This matchup today was not as close as you'd expect. You know, if you asked me preseason, Cynic versus Invictus, how's that one going to play out? And I would have probably thought it'd be a much closer matchup than it was today. So, oof, yeah.
Yeah, oof. I agree, Andrew. This was actually a good conclusion of the past 2 hours. Ladies and gentlemen, why do you need stats? Tournament analyst Toby, fired. Why do you need coaches for the teams? Fired. Why do you need tactical discussions? Fired. The only thing you need is oof. But it suits so well, Andrew.
Like I always try to put I really don't like when I'm casting to come down hard on anyone's decisions. Like, you know, I like to look, if someone makes a mistake, I'm not going to sit here and go like, oh, well, maybe they had a play. No, like, I mean, like, well, that was clearly a fumble. Oh, I don't know if that was the move. I don't mind calling people out. At the same time, I don't want a dog pile. Ultra had some rough matches today. The killers of Invictus, Pedro, and Nightlight came out the gate swinging, literally. The worst result for the killers of Invictus today was 4K2. That is the worst result. That's crazy. That's how do you say anything but oof?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is crazy. And I totally agree with you, right? Ultra, we also need to keep in mind, it was not only decided on the killer side tonight for Team Cynic. Ultra also had to basically carry some of the survivor performance in his backpack. We just have to say it how it is. If your survivor team gets 4K'd and then you are coming out on the killer side, what can you really do realistically? And I think a lot of factors came together tonight. Obviously, we want to point out Cynic is a great team. They are an experienced team. They usually play a lot better than they did tonight. It is heartbreaking to see that it's not only not their day, it is a very horrible day where also nothing seems to work, right? Not this slightest luck coming out. Here, for example, that 150-50 like this is going to swing to their favor. Unfortunately, it's not happening today. And yet we need to be realistic to also give the credit that is deserved to Invictus, because that was certainly not only Cynic having a bad day, that was Invictus playing perfect. And this was Invictus dominating. You have to call it how it is. This was dominance here.
Again, yeah. I mean, the killers. It's always good to watch the killers. I mean, when you talk about Dead by Daylight, until you're talking about Nurse, Billy, Blight, unless you're talking about some of the best killers, typically the game is killer does their best to force errors from the survivors, and survivors make errors that the killer capitalizes on. And particularly for the mid to weaker killers. And that's exactly what happened. Invictus exploited any mistakes that were made on, Invictus's killers exploited all the mistakes made by the survivors of Cynic and dominated that. And then the survivors of Invictus just refused to make mistakes. And that's how you end up with 3 hooks to 4K2, 3 hooks to 4K3, 6 hooks to 4K4.